What up, y'all? Real quick, please let me just, Latest Dossier, some woody basil. The woody scent's killing me, I love it. Everybody's giving me so many compliments. Not only do they have women's and men's and unisex, but they have very affordable scents across the site. I recommend them 10 out of 10. Let's get into it. It's your girl Jess, back with another video. I'm here to talk about us women and toxic lesbians and a couple things that we need to address. I know you might be a little thrown off by this title. I'm not gonna go into it and talk about it the way you think I might. I really just wanted to get you guys here. Hey, welcome. You're gonna stay for the whole thing. Thanks. I came out when I was about age 6 and I thought I was gonna stay there, but because of a lot of things, I just ended up going back to the closet. Came back out later in life, around 22, to a woman. Once I was there, got out of that horrible relationship, I realized that my life was slowly getting gayer and gayer and gayer. Now I'm at a point where I have very minimal men in my life, like cis men. Very minimal, almost doesn't exist. Now it's extremely women-centered, which I love that for me. And if you have a problem with that, that is on you, sweetie, because I love it here, even though all of us need work. And that is exactly why I'm here to talk to you guys. Not only do we have toxic relationships, toxic business relationships, toxic tendencies, toxic past, we also use the word toxic a little way too much and not in the right context most of the time. We need to kind of dissect all this because I have not seen any videos out here that really talk about this in the way that needs to be talked about. The points I want to make in this video are to help us get out of this and to also see everything from a different lens, and that's where I feel like I come in. I just love studying us. I don't know, we're just so interesting to me, and lesbians in general are just crazy beings, and what I've been through and from what I've heard others have been through, it is a lot to unpack. So let's try to do that a little bit here. My upbringing has gotten me to this place where very minimal men are in my life, and I 100% rather deal with toxicity from women than that side of things. My tolerance lives and exists so much better over here, even though it is a lot. Don't want to deal with that. This reality where it's just women in my life is bliss, it's crazy, but I would not have it any other way. And I would suggest this lifestyle to most lesbians because it's great out here. It really is nice. It's a great way to live. I'm happy. But because I did date men, because I am so involved, I have a lot of experience on all the areas and noticing this side of things where lesbians, obviously date each other, have communities with each other, have friends with each other, have exes with each other. It can get very crazy, and I don't think a lot of people outside of the community truly realize how bad it can get because a lot of us just don't get that emotionally involved or take things to certain levels that women on women do with one another. I try to describe like lesbian sex and lesbian relationships to straight people, and I don't ever really have the words. I don't really have like the accurate way to put it because when it is really good, it is amazing. And if you know, you know. Like, to my people who are blessed enough to experience some great lesbian relationships, great lesbian friendships, we're blessed. And I hold on to those people in my life very dearly. Y'all know people like Kels, P Nasty, even women in my life who we might have been romantically involved, or people who, are just platonic friends, like evolved over so many years, and witnessing women's growth through friendship, through lesbianship, has been honestly like the most beautiful thing ever. But the sad thing is that a lot of people don't experience that. A lot of lesbians struggle in friendship, relationship, themselves. And from someone who's lived a life that's like mainly solo, mainly business, very organized, very about their word, it throws people off because I've clearly done a lot of work by myself, which is one thing that I will start off with, is that lesbians suck at doing the work by themselves completely. I feel like because of the companionship between women, how women have their besties, but they also are like mixing that in with relationships when it comes to lesbian stuff, blurring the lines of what people are. And that is another thing that a lot of us struggle with being gay, is that we don't know. Are you flirting? Are we trying to date? Is this a situationships? Are we trying to get married? Are we just trying to be friends? And it gets very blurry and very confusing. And because of people, back to that original point where we don't know ourselves very much, a lot of times lesbians don't know what they want. And that is one thing that I will say is flat out very generally a toxic trait in this community, is that we do not know what we want. And because being gay and loving women is already very free and open, I think that comfortability and that blurred line and that uncertainty bleeds into almost every relationship we have. And it can be very beautiful for people who fully understand themselves and their intentions and have people like that around them who are cool with that or have better understandings about that. But to those who are just doing it recklessly are the ones that are ruining this for us. They're the ones that are making these types of relationships harder for people, because not only do they not know what they want, they're also involving things like feelings and not helping people who already have trust issues, switching up on people, being very dismissive, being very unreliable, being very untrustworthy. Those people are usually the ones who don't do the work where they know what they want or are at least transparent and are communicating that they don't know that or that they're in that state of mind. And when those lesbians don't be very vocal and clear on the fact that they don't know what they want and they aren't very clear on what they want and tell those people like to their face with those words, unless you're doing that, then you're putting people in a position that are leading them on, and then that's why people get so upset, so involved. And lesbians already and women on women already are so emotionally invested in each other because you're breaking this barrier. You're in this very comfortable, vulnerable space. This is what I struggle with trying to explain to people, because like it's a different kind of comfortable when it's just women. You really feel like you know this person and you've shared a lot with this person, you've been vulnerable with this person. Being physically naked, mentally naked with someone is like very hard for a lot of women. So because you're already doing that with another woman, and then you get into this place where you get fucked over by that person, then that person who hasn't had experience with this is gonna feel crazy. They're gonna go crazy, like especially if they don't have coping mechanisms, do crazy things behind your back that you never would have thought this person would. This person won't do me like that. That person very much can do you like that. If you don't have this strong internal knowing and confidence and trust within yourself, like you're just gonna be one of those people that just gives up on dating, having friends, going out. As much as I can understand people like that, that's never gonna lead you to like enthusiastic and progressive and fulfilling life that like feeds you. I was one of those people that really tried to hide from the world, but the more that I really tried to be out there and put myself out there after I did the work and really learned that I can trust myself and be more confident no matter what situation I'm in, it never felt like an L. It never felt like I shouldn't have done that, or it never felt like my love was never worth it. When lesbians don't know how to act, when they do horrible things to each other, when they are just not good people or not trustworthy, it stems from other people doing fucked up things to people who are unstable and haven't done the work, and then they don't do the work to unlearn that and to heal, and then they go off and do that to other people. And then it just ends up snowballing. And we end up in this situation where we're at now where everybody is saying lesbians are toxic, and especially lesbians that look like me. Oh my God, y'all think I'm the most toxic bitch in the entire world. And it's hilarious to me because people like me who look like this, whatever y'all get from this perception, end up getting the end of those people who do fuck those people over, because we tend to look like this. We tend to have these careers. We tend to have this type of personality. It sucks because I'm put into this position where I feel like I have to prove you otherwise. But I don't normally associate with people who have those assumptions of me in the beginning anyways. And if you are one of those people who do have assumptions or do say those silly little jokes and pass on stereotypes, you're not helping us. That is another toxic trait that a lot of y'all need to let go. Everybody in the lesbian community, especially outside of the lesbian community, is very different. Every lesbian that I've met is entirely different. We all have similar traits, we all have similar likes, but it does not mean that we are the same people. And it doesn't matter how much I've dated around, it doesn't matter how many people I've met, I'm still gonna do my best, especially when I meet people, to just have an open mind and to never put stereotypes no matter how anybody looks, no matter how they act. But that doesn't mean that I need to like let go of my boundaries, abandon anything that I've learned, and just let anything happen to me, because that's where we also fail. Boundaries, being clear on what we want and being strong in that, being respectful to ourselves so that way we can be more respectful to others. So a lot of us are just not doing therapy. A lot of us are not taking care of ourselves in silly small ways too, like hygiene, how we talk to ourselves, how we interact with people, and how we come at new people and meeting people and treating people. If I truly walked into this world, especially trying to date, carrying all the stuff I've been through and going at that experience with that type of mindset, being being very angry, being very bitter about what I've been through, being very self-pity about what I've been through, because I used to do that too. It will drag into everything that I do, and therefore my dating, my experiences will not be what I want them to be. I'm carrying this energy from my past that I can't trust anybody because I haven't been through any good experiences. Somebody will always switch up on you no matter what. And a lot of us make this like a joke in the community. I've seen a lot of TikToks, a lot of people talk about it. It is kind of funny how bad we can be and how toxic we can be. There's humor in that. But it's also crazy that that is such a common thing, and we don't do that work to be better people, to show up in those ways that like really show people, oh, she isn't codependent. Oh, she isn't gonna lash out at me because she's had a toxic ex. She isn't gonna be biphobic because she has other bi women that she's dated that gone back to men. Those types of stereotypes, a lot of people carry with them, and then it adds to the struggle of the right people meeting each other. I think also because the lack of like solo love for one another, like literally just like loving yourself, your space, who you are, what you like to do, and like genuinely feeling that way and doing the work. Because I feel like if lesbians like truly felt that way about themselves, like every single one of us had so much love for ourselves and like really let go of a lot of our past stuff, because a lot of us just didn't know. And just like me, if you need to hear this, the way that we've grown up does not dictate who we are today. And a lot of us lost a lot of time in those periods where we just didn't know. It is not a negative thing. It is not a thing that we should shame ourselves for. It's not a thing that we need to like do years and years of therapy to get over. It's more of just like an understanding and an acceptance that where we are now is because of where we were. A lot of us who didn't know that we were gay back then and now are, tend to eventually get to a very confident place. When a lot of people, especially straight people, don't take into account how we lost a lot of those years that you used outside of sexuality to develop yourself. When you're missing a big part of your identity in your childhood, in growing, you don't know really what you like. You don't know what you don't like. You don't know what boundaries are. And a lot of times, a lot of us deal with toxic things from our parents and people that raised us. And then we carry that shit with us into our adult life. And that's just basic stuff that every single person on this earth needs to unlearn and unpack. But a lot of lesbians, I feel, have to do it 10 times deeper and way more intentionally, because there's just so much more to unpack there. And this is a question that I ask almost every single girl I go on a first date with, is like their past, their childhood. You know, I want to understand really where you came from and what that was like, and comparing that to who they are in front of you now and showing you how much work they have or they haven't done. And you get to pick and choose what you want to do with that information. And now that I'm 30, I'm really seeing how age is just a number is coming to life. It just really doesn't matter, and it's really crazy to watch and witness. And sometimes the incidents and the fucked up shit tends to happen even later in life. The problems just get bigger and worse, and it can get really ugly. If we all do the work, if we all truly accepted who we are, if we all truly unpacked our past, if we all truly let go of all the things we've been through and just kept an open mind no matter what we've been through and trusted ourselves, knowing that no matter what happens, you're gonna be okay. A lot of people don't think like that. And that uncertainty, that anxiety, that pressure just makes people be like, fuck it, I don't even wanna try. I understand you guys, I do. I get that mindset, but it's causing so much restriction and negative stereotypes behind people who really want to have an open mind with people, who want to move forward with what they've been through and to do better. It's like, for example, I've learned that in my personal life, when it comes to dating, if you're not adding value into my life, if you're not flowing with me, if we're not on the same mindset, if there's just a lot of differences and we're not clicking, like, I have to set myself back and step back in order to protect myself and my feelings to make sure that I'm okay. But it doesn't mean that I'm gonna be like, fuck you, bye, ghost you. That preventative attitude tends to make people be very standoffish, to be very like way too selfish, which I feel like a lot of lesbians can be. And it adds to the heartlessness of this community. And with someone who is a hopeless romantic, has a big heart, when I meet those people and see how they talk and view the world and view lesbians, it's very heartbreaking, and it's very negative and draining and not fun to even just talk to the person, because they really truly believe that everybody's fucked, their life is fucked, there's no hope. Either you have to be the one to convince them, or they have to do a lot of work on their end to unlearn that. And that's just a lot of work. For someone like me who's on the other end of things, where I've been through all that, but I don't internalize that, where it affects everything that I do and all the relationships, all the things I've been through, to the point where I'm not even gonna move forward with anybody or try anything with anybody. And that also adds to my polyamory side of myself, which is not about this, but that has opened my mind up to a lot of other things. Because of that mindset and because that trust within myself, more love and more positive impacts and more positive relationships, more very beautiful things have happened to me and my life and my flow, my opportunities. There's a difference between being very, very toxic and entertaining toxicity. And I know that can be very controversial when I say that, but let me explain. Being toxic, living that way, you're adding to the stereotype and you're being careless with who you're involving, how you're moving in the world, and it's pushing the narrative and that energy into the universe, into the community that we don't need more of. If you know what you're doing and you're still continually doing it and you're just saying fuck it, that is bad, toxic. We don't want that. We don't need that. If you have this idea and knowing of what that looks like and what that is, but you don't believe it and you don't fully live it, and sometimes you just do things for the plot, or you're trying to experiment, you're trying to figure it out. I'm speaking on the behalf of myself because I've done it. I feel like all of us have done it. We've all tried things we know we weren't supposed to. And for people like me and for people over here, I just feel like we're just trying to figure it out. I think one of the things that lesbians don't talk about enough is that we have this sense, this sixth sense, because we know other people are gay. We know gay energy. Lesbians just have this knowing that I don't even know what I'm trying to describe, but if you know what I mean, you know. We've accepted this about our community, yeah, people are toxic as fuck, we're crazy. But that doesn't mean that we're gonna add to it. It just might mean that we need to clarify that feeling and that knowing of what is this? Because lesbians for sure are curious as fuck. If it's not about your sexuality, it's about the bedroom. If it's not about the bedroom, it's about people's personalities. We just tend to be very curious people because lesbians are so different. I don't think we should shame ourselves for these types of people and these types of behaviors, because it's not necessarily damaging or hurting anybody. It's really just doing a solo practice to make sure that we have a better understanding of what we're trying to figure out internally. When we finally get to this place of understanding who we are and have a better understanding of what we want, that's when I feel all these problems will start to dissolve. It'll actually allow us to find our people better. And I think that's why a lot of us are breaking up, because a lot of us are being actually, this is who I am. And this person's well, this is who I am. And it's well, I don't think that works. This is not a good formula here. And then it just doesn't work. And instead of it being weird or awkward, we can both move separate ways and just move on with our lives and be hey, cool, experience. That's all we really need to treat it as. A lot of these things are just experience, and that's a beautiful thing. So even though the success rate of relationships might go down or it might not even improve, I think dating's gonna get better because we're showing up as better people to find the better matches. So if you know that you don't want to date or you need to do some work for yourself, but you're bored, you're being toxic. You're adding to these people. That's not what this is. If you know that you're secure in yourself, you want to experiment in dating, and you just aren't sure what you want, saying those things while you're dating and being honest about your journey, that's okay. That's a better way to go about it. Because then that gives those people on the other end the option to choose, do I want to entertain this even though they don't know what they want? Don't have this expectation or this potential or whatever put on this person to change, because that's gonna ruin it for yourself and ruin it for them. And you equally have to be accountable in the knowing that you accepted this from the beginning, knowing that they said that. I've been on both ends of that spectrum, and it sucks being on both ends trying to change the situation. When you fully allow yourself to accept that this is the reality that you put yourself in, no matter what feelings and crazy sex you have arise, you still have to stand on business in that reality and stand on the agreement that you signed. It's gonna allow you to move forward better and allow the relationship to prove if it wants to or separate if it has to. Flowing in relationships, in friendships, is one thing that a lot of lesbians struggle with. A lot of women struggle with expectations on one another, overthinking things. On top of that, I feel like a lot of lesbians struggle with being obsessive and having obsessive personalities and really trying to mesh with the person that they're with. And I've also noticed that in people that actually date and have been in long-term relationships, as much as it can be really healthy and it is amazing that you have this amazing connection with this person, that's your person. I can't speak on, I've never been there, but it does tell me as a person on the other end who has been so solo, it's kind of hard to see how dependent you can get and how sucked in and how obsessive you can get over someone, to the point where a lot of those people don't have individual personalities. Like, you almost know that person as this other person's person. And if you don't have like a very strong sense of self, growth is always gonna be stunted in a way. I had to like unpack that from my past and let go of that. If I'm in a really good relationship, if I'm with someone long term, if they're not toxic, whatever, I still have to take time for myself. I still have to do things for myself. I still have to improve myself. I still have to feed myself internally, physically, constantly checking myself, always being a student, always making sure that my ego never gets the best of me, no matter who I'm with. Sometimes we get so comfortable that it does become toxic because you don't realize how much that person is sucking the life out of you, even if they are a good influence. That person could cause you to lose a lot of attention away from yourself to them. A lot of your energy and a lot of your thoughts, a lot of your feelings on them, because you care about them and you love them. What a lot of lesbians need to hear is love is not ownership, it is not consumerism, it is free, it is open, it is progressive, it is expansive. But a lot of us want to be so territorial, be so sucked in one another. A lot of us make this joke that like lesbians want to be in each other's skin, and I feel that. I'm a lover girl, I get it. Like, I want to be all up in you, but you're not allowing that space with people and time and expectations from yourself. It's making things and your stress levels, your anxiety, your depression, the unreliability, the untrustworthiness within yourself to grow, which a lot of people don't realize and don't see it, because it can happen so small and so subtle over time, to the point where you're at this point where you're like, oh shit, I'm not the same person I was. Oh shit, I don't do the things I used to do. I don't look as good as I used to. I don't feel as good as I used to. The flow that I was talking about and that positivity in growth are only able to happen when you understand that all this is a part of it, but you don't have to internalize it. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to there's no expectations for you. And then a lot of us compare our love life from straight people or straight people around us, or try to get advice from straight people, and don't realize that like they will never understand or fully be able to help us, even though we try to get some clarity and understanding. Even if it is good advice, sometimes it shouldn't be applied to us because we are gay, because we do love women and we are a woman. A lot of toxic lesbians, especially masculine ones, who hang out with men primarily, tend to be way more toxic. I don't hang out with men, like I said, but two, I don't hang out with women who also hang out with men like that. Because they try to be them, they have the same ideas as them, they're still very connected to the male mind, and they're bringing all that into women loving women relationships and other women who are like me, who only hang out with women or have done the work. And you're feeling this energy through someone who might not even realize what they're doing. If we were way more inclusive with each other in our word, in our advice, in being there for one another, in being better friends, better relationships, better partners for one another within this community, instead of trying to involve everybody else and educate everybody else and do all that stuff, which is nice, we can do that, but like not making that a priority and not holding weight on those opinions and those ideas and concepts, it'll improve everything that we have going on for us tenfold. Communities are communities for a reason. Like, we understand each other. You guys who are watching this understand me. You understand what I'm talking about with a lot of things I'm saying. The way that you're living your life, down to everything that you do, is important for other people in this community. I'm living, walking proof that because of my experiences, no matter what, I still can be a very solid person. Even though I'm a dancer, I'm a host, I do women-only events, I'm like out here, I'm a model, like all these things that people put in stereotypes of like, oh, you're a fuckboy, like this is all you do. I don't have to prove anything, but I have a knowing of who I am and what I bring to the table and how real I've been, no matter how hard it's been, and being accountable, being very sensitive to other women and being loving as much as I can with boundaries that help me stay in that mindset has allowed so much love, so much more respect, so much more flow and opportunity and beautiful stuff within my life. And I've said this already, but I need to reiterate that this is what your reality can be if you are way more real, way more trusting in yourself and to see life more clearly, more positively as a lesbian. I want to help you guys as much as I can with these videos, and that's why I do this, because I have too. I'm not saying this is easy. Nothing I said is easy, but it can be done. It can exist. It can look like this. It can feel and be real. And you can still have hope even though you've been through a ton of shit. Just try to do better for people like me that already are doing the work and have done the work and want to see better. Let's do better. We can do better, right? We can do better? Okay, bestie. I'm gonna see you out there in those healthy streets, and we're gonna see the streets improve. Peace. Love y'all.